All right, let's take you to Switzerland, where the UN's Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, and his senior advisor, Jan Egeland, are speaking in Geneva. Let's listen in.
The Geneva talks, there was a very important meeting in Munich. There were two deliverables, and the two deliverables came as a commitment, one on the humanitarian, unimpeded, continuous access to start with, the besieged areas in Syria. The second deliverable was the hard work to be done by those who have an influence in order to have a cessation of hostilities. Both deliverables are moving, and moving in the right direction. The first deliverable, you will hear it again, has been moving very effectively. Nothing is enough. Much more needs to be done, and much more people needs to be reached. But 110,000 people, almost 200 trucks. Yesterday, the beginning of a test on airdrops in order to reach 200,000 people. We are talking about serious changes from the before. More needs to be done, more effectively, and certainly if, as we all hope, the cessation of hostilities take hold effectively, they will have an impact on the acceleration of reaching the people in need in Syria, not only in the besieged areas, but everywhere. Now we look at tomorrow. For your information, as you know, because you need to be prepared, tomorrow is going to be a very important, I would say a crucial day. A day in which we will have, to start with, a midday deadline for what is considered the acceptance of the framework of the cessation of hostilities. Following that, a task force on the issue of cessation of hostilities, which is basically about modalities. Following that, there will be, at 9 p.m. our time in Geneva, a Security Council meeting. Geneva, it will be done in New York, of course, but we will be connected by VTC from Geneva, so that we stay here at 9 o'clock. And by 11 o'clock, I will be certainly doing a stakeout on our side with all of you in order to be able to assess where we are and indicate also the information regarding the resumption of Geneva talks. So I would appreciate you don't ask me today. Today we talk about humanitarian issues, and today we talk about the phase one of the Munich deliverable. I will take therefore only one question, only one, on humanitarian framework, and then I will leave it to Jan Egeland to lead the rest of the details and the substance and take more questions than one. So if you have one question, I take it. Yes, please.
Explain that the Syrian government are removing from the aid trucks medical supplies which are fundamental to saving lives and essential under international humanitarian law.
I do not give any explanation to that because, as you know very well, we have been asking and we will be continuing to ask that trauma kits, antibiotics, anything that can be helping average people, we are not talking about fighters, need to be included and be given access to the UN and SARC convoys. But I would think that is one of the points that was discussed exactly at the task force today. So with your permission, I leave you with Jan Egeland, and we will see you, God willing, tomorrow for a crucial day in what has been now a very momentous follow-up to the Munich meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you very much, Staffan. Indeed, access to civilians in Syria has been one of the major problems since the beginning of the war for us humanitarians. Civilians, including women and children, have suffered, died, starved without us being able to come to the rescue because parties have denied us access. 2015, last year, was particularly bad. 1% of the needs in the besieged areas, which at the time was around 400,000 civilians, 1% of the needs were covered only. For 9 out of the 12 months, zero food reached any of the besieged areas. So it is some progress that in these less than 2 weeks since this task force was created by the International Support Group for Syria, we have had more than 180 trucks reaching 6 areas that has been besieged for too long, and in those areas 110,000 people have gotten relief. The last 72 hours was significant also in this respect. We got the first convoy into eastern Ghouta, an area with a lot of active conflict, and the town of Kafr Batna got relief. 10,000 people got food, non-food items, different kinds of relief. We also got the second convoy, more than 50 trucks, into Madamia. This was on top of the first convoy on the 17th of February. These were the first 2 convoys for 1.5 years to this area. We also had, as you will have heard, the first trial airdrops by the World Food Programme over and to Deir Ezzor, which is the only location we cannot, as humanitarians, reach by land, negotiated land access. There were 2 problems. Pallets were drifting in with their parachutes, so that some missed target, and others of the pallets, the parachutes did not open, and the food were destroyed. So, with those lessons, the best humanitarian logisticians in the world are working on how to make this lifeline to 200,000 people in Deir Ezzor, mostly women and children, work, and the World Food Programme is planning a 3-month program. Bettina from World Food Programme is here with me and can give further detail. In general, I would say, having co-chaired this task force now, and this is the 3rd meeting, the task force is working. The member states are helping us like no time before in reaching out to the armed actors, to the parties on the ground, including the government, and that is why we've made the progress we have. We have an excellent cooperation with the co-chairs of the ISSG, the United States and Russia, but also the other members of the task force help us. Much remains to be done. We need to cover the final areas in the besieged areas list. Most of them are in the area called Eastern Ghouta, and we will be doing convoys in the coming days to this area. We also want to get the help of task force members to get access to Aleppo area, Homs area, where we are hoping to send convoys, and there are great unmet needs, and we have not been able to access several of these areas for too long. I will take questions, and Jesse will help me.
Questions, please, for Mr. Jan Egeland.
Nick Cumming-Bruce, New York Times. Before you get to actually delivering the aid, have you had assurances that the Russian bombing is going to stop, and that there is some movement that will allow deliveries to these besieged areas, even if the cessation of hostilities doesn't actually take hold?
Well, nobody's hoping more for cessation of hostilities than we, the humanitarians. There is active conflict in several areas that is preventing access. So even permits is not enough because the active conflict is raging. We do have deconflicting mechanisms with all of the international actors in Syria, and we hope that will enable access to areas that I have mentioned. But all hopes are for that the cessation of hostilities will further make access possible in the week ahead.
Yes, Catherine Fiancambo-Conga for France 24. Mr. Stephen O'Brien said last night...
All right, we've been listening to the United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, and his senior senior advisor, Jan Egeland, answer questions after meeting with members of the Taskforce on Humanitarian Access in Syria. De Mistura said that nothing is enough, more needs to be done more effectively. He said that the cessation on hostilities was vital for humanitarian aid to reach the areas. He also said that tomorrow is an important day, referring to the midday deadline on Friday for the parties accepting the terms of the cessation of hostilities. Jan Egeland said that the humanitarian aspect has been the most important for them as a humanitarian. He said that only 1% of the needs of humans in besieged areas. They said they were talking about almost 400,000 men, women, and children, mostly women and children, were met. Only 1%. And for 9 months, zero amount of food reached some of these areas.